Welcome, everybody, to All About Articulation, where we do a deeper dive into the articulation of some of your favorite action figures while glossing over things like sculpt, paint apps, character history, accessories, because I suck at that, and there are already so many great reviews on YouTube who do that already, so I don't want to waste your time. And time is a terrible thing to waste, right? Right. So today we're going to do, probably it's going to be a quick review, because these are figures that have already been released prior. These are basically just a bit of a repaint, but they're fun repaints, so let's see what happens. I don't know. I really don't know. None of this is scripted. I just fly off the seat of my pants, so they say. Today we're doing the Marvel Legends, Hasbro Marvel Legends, Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and the black symbiote suit Spider-Man. Vintage back card releases. I threw the boxes away. I'm not a box collector. So it's these two guys right here. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? And of course, I have all of the different variations that I currently own in the background. These of course are on the original vintage Spider-Man buck that came out almost 2 years ago, I want to say. So if you know the articulation of this guy, you pretty much know the articulation of these two guys. I guess before I go into articulation, let's just do a little bit of a comparison, right? So, first of all, yeah, it's exactly in terms of build, mold, articulation as the Spider-Man that came out back in the day, 2 years ago. So I got my 3 Spider-Man here. Got Ben Reilly, Peter Parker, and black suit. And yeah, I mean, if you have this guy, if you're lucky enough to grab him, you know exactly what to expect from these two here. Right? Not much, but they're fun though. I mean, they're really fun. The amount of posing and the amount of movement and the different range of articulation, not just the... Well, I always say, a lot of manufacturers, and understandably so, they like to emphasize and show off different points of articulation. 20 points of articulation, 22 points, 24 points of articulation. Well, all those points of articulation are meaningless if the range of articulation of each articulation point is not good. It's not wide. You don't have a wide range of articulation. These guys do not fail. You get huge amounts of movement. We're going to show you in the articulation portion. But let me just show you right off the bat how he stacks up against the previous Marvel Legends Ben Reilly. This came out, I want to say, 4 years ago. I mean, this is an old figure. It came out in the, Hobgoblin wave? Somebody check me on that. It's on the old Pizza Spidey buck, which is a lot thinner, a lot lankier, sinewy, if I may. This new buck is a lot beefier, a lot more muscular. He looks like he looks like he's been on he takes some creatine. He's taking some weight gainer. In terms of articulation, is this an improvement? Yes. And you know what? Let's just compare him to his Pizza Spidey mold. So this is the old Symbiote Spidey on the Pizza Spidey mold that came out similarly about 3, 4, 5 years ago now, I want to say. Jeez, it's been a long time. So yeah, as you can see, the two in the middle, they're jacked. These guys are jacked. Like, if I see these two guys walking into the gym, I know they ain't messing around. They don't skip leg days. They don't skip chest days. They don't skip any days. They live in the gym. These two guys here, though a bit shorter, though not by much. If I can, do I have my tape measure here? Yeah, you know what? Let me grab my tape measure real quick. Hold that thoughts. All right, tape measure time. So we got The new Ben Reilly, he stands at about, what's that, 6 and 6 1/4, and the old Ben Reilly stands at about a little less than 6 1/4. But as you can see, that he's probably maybe, I want to say a couple of millimeters, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters taller than the old Ben Reilly. And likewise, these two guys in the back will be the same. It's exactly the same. Just like I said, a difference of paint applications. Nothing new in terms of mold and articulation. Although the Ben Reilly figure, you do have these gauntlets here on the wrists, but they do not get in the way of any sort of wrist motion, as opposed to the Mafex Ben Reilly, which I did a review in another video. The wrist gauntlets do hinder a lot of wrist motion, which is it's a shame, because if I had to choose, this is probably my favorite one just because of articulation purposes. But he is a $100 figure. In fact, you can't even get him for $100 anymore. $100 MSRP. You know, now the maniacs on the internet, they're selling him aftermarket for like $130 to $150. You'd be lucky if you get him for less than $150. But that would be my favorite. But different price scales, different price points, understandably so. If you can't get your hands on the Mafex, can't afford them, definitely pick up this guy, because you're not going to be disappointed in the way he articulates. So Mafex, not Mafex, Mezco has not released. All right, let me just put these three all together now. All right, Marvel Legends, and Mafex on the end here, Mezco on the end over here. Mezco has not released Ben Reilly, and Mafex has yet to release their Black Suit Spider-Man. I got that pre-ordered, it's coming, but as of right now, what is today? March 18th? I don't have them yet. So once I get Black Suit Spider-Man in Mafex form, I'll do a review on him. But as of now, this is the three I have in hand. All right, so let's just jump into the articulation. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The exact same figure. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you. Okay, so for those of you who don't have or new to this buck, he has a very interesting neck joint. It's that the new Marvel Legends double-sided ball joint thing. But there is a cut on the back of the neck, which does help a lot. So you can push the ball joint back, and to give you an idea of what it does is that now he can look all the way up, which is good. Although, to be fair, if I can grab the old Pizza Spidey mold, you know, he can go just as far back. I honestly don't see the advantage of this new neck joint technology, for lack of a better word, than the old school disc hinge. I almost like the old disc hinge better. Although I see why maybe the benefits of this is that you don't get the weird, you know, you don't see that weird hinge. Come on, get in there. Come on. Oh, for the love of God, don't embarrass me on camera. Well, at least it doesn't break. There we go. But, I mean, do you even really see it? Is it really that noticeable? Are you really looking at the base of his neck, the bottom of his chin? Because for articulation purposes, it's pretty much the same. In fact, I think that the disc hinge gets way more range of motion. See that? He can look much further down than this new double ball peg. joint that they got going on. But be that as it may, we're gonna move on. So we did the neck. Here he does go up. He's his T-pose. It's nice. It's good. He can go up really far. Go up that far up. All right, let me move these guys out the way a little bit so you can get a better view of his in the motion in the white background. All right, Ben, you move out the way. There you go. All right. There is butterfly joint, and it's real true butterfly joint. You can go all the way back. That's fantastic. And you can move all the way up, or forward, I should say. All right. With elbows straight, he can pretty much, yeah, he can cross his arms with elbows straight. So that's fantastic. A lot of good range on the butterfly. All right. Double jointed elbows. Pardon me. Hits about, what would you say that, 45 degrees. The bicep swivel goes all the way around. We know that. The hinge, the wrist hinge goes extension, flexion, and the extension flexion motion. He's got 2 points of articulation in the waist, the traditional sort of ab crunch in the lower waist, and you got this very, very nice ball joint motion, ball joint in the upper diaphragm, where you could tilt side to side, get a lot of range, goes all the way around, and he can crunch. So if we isolate the bottom waist and just crunch his upper diaphragm, that's how far he goes. Isolating the waist and extending the back, that's how far back he goes. Isolating the upper diaphragm and just bending the lower waist, that's how far forward he can crunch. And isolating the upper diaphragm and just extending the back with the lower waist, that's how far back he goes. And if you put both of these joints together, he can bend down that far. Wait, me straighten out his legs, flat on the ground. That's how far forward he can go, and this is how far back he can go using both joints. So he's almost like a cat. So yeah, a lot of range. The ab crunch, the ab articulation in conjunction with both the upper diaphragm and the lower waist is A+. All right. There is a drop down in the waist. In the hips. You get a little bit of that. I don't know if you can see that right there. See that? You get a little bit. That's the hips in neutral position. And I'm going to pull it down a little bit. So it's a little bit, but that's all you need. Articulation for action figures, it's literally we're talking about, it's a game of millimeters. You can give me a millimeter more of movement, of motion, of range, and that can translate to a wide range for limbs and posing and positions. So I don't want to understate just how little bit of that hip drop down is. On camera, it might just look like a little bit, and it is a little bit, but because of just that little bit, he can get his leg all the way out. So he can do a Glenn Webb split as far down as he can go with both feet flat on the ground. That much. As opposed to the old school Pizza Spiderman, the old school black symbiote Spider-Man on the Pizza Spider-Man buck. There is no drop down, so that's as far out as he can go. That's it. Any more and you're going to break the figure. So, you see that? That's the difference between the two. So obviously, it's an improvement. And likewise for the Ben Reilly. Same exact figures. All right. And we're going to move into the side. Move him to the side. I wonder if I haven't been watching a lot of YouTube, but I wonder if other reviewers are doing separate reviews for Ben Reilly and Black Suit, because these are the exact same figures. I thought of doing it, but I'm like, wait a minute. They're the exact same figures. And especially for me, it's articulation. Oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, paint apps is different in accessory, but accessory is exactly the same. The accessory they come with is just 3 pairs of hands. Open hands, fists, and thwipping. So you're really just, the only difference in terms of these two figures, if you were going to do a full review, is just the paint. But I guess you can fill a lot of time doing that. All right, but I don't want to waste you guys' time. Okay, now that's the hips. You got a waist thigh swivel that goes all around. We know that. We know how that works. You got double jointed knees that almost can kick the butt, and if you want to, push it a little bit and cheat. There you go. There's a, what do you call it? Boot swivel. Calf swivel that goes all around. You know, we know how it works. And we have ankle articulation. This is how far up you can point his toes. Get that nice V that I always like talking about. And you get that far down, pointing his toes down. All right, and you get, of course, that great Marvel Legends ankle pivot. You know, Marvel Legends gets a lot of flack for a lot of things, and sometimes deservedly so, but when they hit home runs, first of all, they do ankle pivot right. So let me just give them a little bit of credit there. They always give good ankle pivot, number one. And number two, when they hit home runs, they can hit home runs. And I think with this mold, they've hit a home run. This, you know, with the first release Spider-Man, vintage Spider-Man, and now with Ben Reilly and Black Suit. If I do have a qualm with this buck, is that I just don't think that it's, I don't know, man. Is it really Spider-Man? You know, I don't know. I always felt Spider-Man was like a skinny kid from Queens, you know? He's a 5'10", skinny dude from Queens. He got picked on a lot. He was kind of nerdy, shy around the girls. He wasn't jacked, right? And Ben Reilly, of course, being a clone of Peter Parker, likewise. He was, you know, he's not the biggest guy in the world. That's why I always thought maybe if I'm being picky, if I'm being really picky, it's that this mold is just a little bit too big for Spider-Man, right? What do you guys think? Am I being just a little too anal retentive? I always thought this was more Spider-Man. He's skinny, he's lean, muscular, but that's my Spider-Man. Now, there's another mold that they use off sometimes, not often, is this mold. And this is a cyborg Spider-Man on the old Sunfire / Bullseye mold. This is kind of like an in-between these two molds in terms of heft and body and weight. And I think this is perfect for Spider-Man 2. It's not too big, and he's a little bit more filled out than the Pizza Spidey mold, but not as jacked as this new vintage Spider-Man mold. So I could go as far as this for Spider-Man, but this just might be a little too jacked for Spider-Man, you know? I mean, listen, I'm being picky, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I an idiot? You can call me an idiot. I don't care. I've been called an idiot before, okay? It's not the first time. Won't be the last. Okay, well, hope you guys had fun watching this review, and I hope you guys have fun with your action figures, because remember, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. All right, see you soon.